Good morning, family and friends. I'm going to be sharing chapter 3 of Satan's Rules by Dr. Scott Bitkin. Chapter 3 is the cause and creation of altars, which Scott said he doesn't like that word. I don't like that word either. But altars is referring to alternate personalities, which actually we'll find out in this teaching in chapter 3 here, that it's trauma that causes these parts of us to be so traumatized that we somewhat separate. But let me read his teaching. You don't want to hear what I have to say about it because I'm just going through the training and learning myself, okay? I do encourage you to go to Scott's website, you can see his videos as he teaches inner healing and deliverance. I really encourage you to go there and look for yourself, learn for yourself, because all of us are supposed to be setting the captives free, as I've said before, and as he says in his teachings. So in saying that, let me go ahead and read chapter 3. Let me give you his website, innerhealinganddeliverance.org. So just type in innerhealinganddeliverance.org, no dashes or anything like that in it. And go there and see what teachings that he has to offer. He does not charge on his website for anything. Okay, in saying that, chapter 3, altars are created by one word, trauma. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, or sexual abuse, resulting in an overwhelming emotion or pain that the core person cannot handle. There are obvious traumas, but children have almost no coping skills, so they get hurt badly enough to disassociate over very small things. Below are a couple of examples of how easily children get hurt, and it can affect them for their entire lifetime. And you know what? I can actually say and know and understand exactly what he's saying here, because I was affected, and probably many of you were also, with things from my childhood, as young and as far back as I can remember, at 5 years old, going through different traumas in my life. I would say at least 2 to 3 different traumatic experiences that actually affected me my whole life. And I'm sure it has, many of you, and you understand this concept. So the wound itself, obviously deliverance is, that's a tool that God has given us, a gift, or that we can cast out devils. He's given us power to do that. But wounds is a different story. Wounds must be healed. They must be healed from the inside out, and demons cast out for sure. But let me go ahead and read it. I apologize. I interrupt my own self. So he goes on to tell a story. He says, I was ministering to a 58-year-old woman who was tormented by inadequacy and never felt good enough. She was the youngest of 4 children, and all 4 were a year apart. And when she was in kindergarten, her mother dropped them off at the elementary school. She handed each child a quarter to pay for their lunch and milk, but when she got to the youngest child, all she had left was a nickel. It hurt the kindergartner so badly that she disassociated, and the pain continued even to the day that we met for ministry. Now, this woman is 58 years old. And then another time, I also ministered to a 48-year-old man who was tormented by rejection. And when Bob was 3 years old, his father came home after a hard day at work and dropped into his easy chair Bob was so excited to see his dad that he ran up to him just squealing and excited, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And his father needed just a moment of quiet after his difficult day. And so he roughly pushed Bob aside, and the little boy was crushed and disassociated from the rejection. It had tormented him his whole life. So the altars, whose purpose is to hold the pain so the person can go on with their life. So even after trauma, it's like a little file in the back of your mind. It's actually a wonderful little coping mechanism that God created. So then Scott has a question here, was given, does everyone have these type of wounds? And the answer to that is people can have no altars, they can have one, they can have 100, or they can even have tens of thousands. If you get into this ministry, you're going to find people who have been satanically, ritually abused. Now, their parents were Satanists and intentionally created their wounds, intentionally, specifically for the purpose of demonizing them. Very few people get through life without being wounded. Altars can be created as early as in the womb, and also in people who are over 90 years old. And here's an example. You'll see a 14-year-old girl who turns up pregnant, and she's not ready to have a baby. She's talking about abortion, and the baby can feel that rejection. And we're talking about a baby in the womb. A serious disassociation takes place. Or maybe the girl's 50-year-old boyfriend doesn't want, or 15-year-old boyfriend doesn't want to quit school to support this child. And when this mom-to-be is 7 months along, the boyfriend pushes her down some stairs, or he punches her in the stomach in an attempt to create a miscarriage. What do you think happens to that baby? A disassociative part is created. The baby, now an adult, comes to me 30 years later saying that they felt rejected and unwanted from the womb. Which was true. They were rejected and unwanted right from the womb. So as our coping skills increase, fewer and fewer altars are created. If I snuck up on a 3-year-old little child in a grocery store and I bent over and screamed at the child, that would probably be too much for the child to handle. If I did that to a 60-year-old adult, they'd probably just turn around and tell me to buzz off or something like that, because their coping skills are better. I've done deliverances on over 10,000 people and only found a handful that didn't have any wounds. And I'm not sure that they were entirely honest with me. Okay, so that is the end of chapter 3. These chapters are short but informative. And once again, I encourage you to go to Scott's website and check out his videos. He does live deliverances. Not just deliverances, live inner healing and deliverances. I really agree with his ways personally, because I am a one who has suffered trauma through my childhood, and it has affected my adulthood. If that wound would have been healed, say, when I was 20 or 30, it would have saved a lot of years of different types of emotions that I had to deal with between me and the Lord. And I'm sure many of you understand that, because most often, just like he said here, there are just a handful of people that he ran into that did not have that disassociation or that altar, where that trauma was never healed, where their trauma was just like trapped in them. and went on year after year after year. And they may not have even known what it was at times, but and then he said, at the last paragraph there, that he wasn't so sure that those 10 that he ran into after doing tens of thousands of deliverances, or 10,000 deliverances, that they were even telling the truth. So in saying that, I really encourage you to go to his site. Once again, it is innerhealinganddeliverance.org. Also, on the 25th of July, he'll be doing a live teaching on Facebook and Periscope at 5 o'clock Arizona time, which would be locally for us in Southern Illinois would be, wait a minute, I think I got that backwards. It's going to be 3 o'clock Phoenix time. And for us in Illinois, locally here, would be 5 o'clock our time. So watch my Facebook posts, and I will be posting. I will be streaming that live if I can. I believe that it's going to be streamed live on Facebook, so I can just share it and make sure that you can see it. I definitely will be there to see it. And actually, as I said, Chuck and I are going through his training, and we just see the truth in all of it. There's one place where he talks about, people have asked him, is this biblical? And I went over that video yesterday and began to see the biblical truth in it all. Those wounds Jesus healed. And I'll bring up some of that teaching later. If you don't first go to his site, and you can find it there, actually in the first video, I believe. So it's very biblical, and Jesus healed and he set the captives free. He doesn't want us wounded on the inside. So any more than we want to be wounded, So God bless you each and every one, and I'll try to catch up with you tomorrow, and we'll do chapter 4. And I just pray that in some way some of this will begin to open the eyes of the world, that we have not been doing what Jesus has commanded us to do, and that's to set the captives free, to heal the sick. That's what he did. Those are the things that Jesus did, and those are actually the signs and wonders. And he said, even greater than these signs and wonders will you be doing. So it's time for us to do that. It's time for us to gain more knowledge and get out there and get hands-on experience and do the things that Jesus told us to do. All right, have a totally amazing week in Jesus' name.